Hey class, Nick Sensky here. We're gonna annotate some files. This is an annotation tutorial. We are going to annotate L8, or at least I am. You are not going to annotate this one because I'm annotating it already. So to start off, you load up a file that has the sections in it. Right now I'm using L1 through L19. So first step is right-click, clipboard, and copy. And this will allow us to copy stuff between files. Now I'm going to open the annotation template file. It should look like this. This is the R1 slice. What we're going to do is just select all of this and use the copy command and bring it up. And the reason that we're doing this is that we have these like print layouts that we have set up, and we don't want to mess with those. They're set up to essentially like target where this rectangle is, and so we want to put our stuff in this rectangle. But at the same time, we don't want to delete the original stuff because we have to grab styles from it. So we're just going to copy it up there so we can reference it. So to start off, we're just going to delete all of that. Now we're going to right-click, clipboard, and paste, and paste it in. So now we have our section. Sometimes not all the lines come through. I'm not sure why this is. So if this happens, you're just going to have to go and draw them back in using whatever command you want to use. Hopefully you know how to do that. Alright, so now we have our section. If you're dealing with sections L1 through L19, then you're going to have to add hatching yourself, because those files were created sort of before we had a standard setup. So I'm going to move to layer 1. Actually, it doesn't matter what layer you're on. Anyways, we're going to use a command called hatch. And it doesn't really matter what pattern you use. We're just going to start filling in these sections. Now, sometimes it'll click in a section and it'll mess up. It'll like make a line, or some like there's some where you click and it'll fill in like it'll just do weird stuff that you don't want. So if something like that happens, we're gonna hit U and enter, and that's sort of an undo command for within the hatch command. If you hit Control Z, I think it'll actually like undo the entire hatch command, which we really don't want. So make sure you just hit U and enter. And screwed up again, so U enter. Screwed up again. It's being really difficult right now. Oh yeah, and then sometimes it does this. Also bad. Also freezing AutoCAD entirely. Wow. Yeah, I just tried that one. I forgot. Anyways, we just want to like hatch as much as we can that isn't like just straight up broken. And then we'll go through with another hatch command and fill in the stuff that we missed. So that's some of it. Also, sometimes like you'll start hatching stuff and stuff will change color. I guess just be careful. You don't want to fill in any purple stuff because that'll really confuse the graphics, and we don't want that. Oh, issue. That's not even close to where I clicked. This can take a while. It's a bit of a pain. AutoCAD's a bit of a pain. But it's okay. One little quirk about this is that you kind of want to make sure that all the boundaries of your hatch are within the view. So if you want, let's say I want to hatch this piece in, and you like move your view all the way off this way, it actually worked that time. Usually it doesn't, and it'll complain about not knowing where the boundaries are. So if that happens, just like move your view around. Also, sometimes when you undo, it'll undo more than one hatch. So just watch out for that. anyways, we've got all our hatch done. Now we're going to use a command called matchProp, which is short for match properties. All you have to type in is matchp. What this does is it just grabs the properties from one thing and moves them to another. So in this case, we're going to grab this hatch, and now the command at the bottom of the console has changed. And so now when we click on stuff, it just changes it to that hatch. And now all of our graphics are consistent, which is great. That's what we want. Also, I missed a bit here, so fill that in real quick. All right. What? Okay, close enough. Anyways, next step, we don't have to actually do all of this in the specific order, but this is sort of the order I've been using, is we're dealing with L8. So I'm going to move this marker, and I'm just going to count. This white line is 0, and if we're doing L8, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and now that's showing where this is. We also need to change the titles. So you just double click on the text and you type it in. Make sure it's in all caps. If it's in lower caps, then it looks like I8 or 18. You don't want that because that's confusing. Next step is we want to count nails. This isn't entirely necessary, but we're doing it anyways. Nails. So like we've marked both the positions where nails are going to, screws are going to be drilled in, as well as the pre-drill positions. Except that pre-drilling is no longer a necessity. So the actual number of screws, like, let me start over. Basically, we have these big circles around the small circles, and then we have small circles that are on their own. Small circles that are concentric with a big circle, that means there's a screw there. If there's a small circle on its own, even if it's like on the edge of a circle or even inside of the circle, that just means it's a pre-drill hole, and essentially that means it's going to be receiving like the further end of the screw, and so that doesn't really count as a screw for our layer. So we're just going to count the big circles. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. And if you get this number wrong, it's not actually a huge deal because the screws themselves aren't going to be included in the packages. So if you get that number wrong, not the end of the world. Alright, now we're going to begin actually annotating. We're going to skip to the purple layer, or magenta. It's called O2. And we're going to use a command called dim_ang, which is an angular dimension. And what this is it dimensions angles, surprisingly. So let's say I want to show the angle between these two pieces. I just click on the two lines and then click, and it places the dimension. And we're just going to keep on doing this for a while. Essentially, you just need to put in enough angles so that the purple pieces can be included or positioned correctly. So like up here, we don't need, whoa, that's interesting. If, like, we don't need to show the angle between these two pieces. It's not selecting that piece. I'll go over why in a second. But like, we don't need to show the angle here because those pieces aren't actually being built. But we also don't need to show the angle between these two, because essentially that would be only useful for placing this one. If you want to include the angle, though, it's not an issue, and in fact, more information is going to provide the builders with like additional information to make sure that stuff is being placed correctly. So like, if you're not really sure if you should include something or not include it, you should include it. All right. So one issue that you'll run into is that sometimes when you try and do a dimension angle on a piece, it's not going to like it. And there are two ways to save this, two ways to fix this. One of them is you select a piece and you use the pedit command. and you just kind of hit enter a few times, and then it's sort of fixed. It's good enough for our purposes, good enough for government work. Essentially what that does is it just takes a curve and converts it into a series of lines. And I need to do this on this one as well. Alright, and now if I do dim ang, grab these, now we can, oh, can we? We still can't. Okay, if this is happening, then we're going to go to the p-line command, and we are going to actually draw a line, then use that line. And then make sure you delete the line that you made afterwards, if AutoCAD will let you. There we go. Alright, so now we have a dimension on that. I'm going to have to p-line on this again. In fact, I'm just going to draw this whole thing out because I don't know what is broken and what isn't. So I'm just going to cover all my bases. Oh, also, to make this easier on yourself, what you can do is go ahead and lock the beam layers, so you don't have to worry about like accidentally deleting them. And you can also lock the background, the hatch layer, which is 01. All right, now dim angle. And if you get the positioning wrong, don't worry about it. We can fix that later. I'm just marking all of these out because, again, I don't know what is broken and what isn't, and it's a lot faster to do a whole bunch of one command in a row than it is to switch between commands every single time I want to do something. And later I'll just come back and delete all of these, which shouldn't be too painful. Also, if you can, if you're doing with a joint like this where there's an obtuse angle and an acute angle, it's going to be better to mark the obtuse angle because that's just easier to measure on a mechanical level as well as on an annotation level. Generally, the obtuse angle is going to have more space to put an annotation in. I guess we need this one too. On a somewhat similar note, do not mark this angle because that's really weird. Just don't do it. Alright, dim angle. Actually, what we can do is we can just turn off our beam layers, and that should make this a bit easier. I'll turn off the hatch layer too. Since I've already gone ahead and marked where all my angles are, I can just do dim angle on this stuff, and I don't have to worry about like selecting the correct object. Because what was happening before was it would ask me which object I wanted to select because there were two things overlapping each other. Now that I've hidden those layers, there's no overlap, so it has no question about what I'm grabbing, and that makes this a lot faster. And doing a single annotation file can take anywhere from like 45 minutes to like 2 hours, even when you know what you're doing. So going fast is absolutely what you want. Alright, now oh, one more. Alright, now we've got all those in. So we want to grab the polylines and delete them. make sure you don't accidentally delete the dim angle instead. Alright, I think that's everything. No, one more. Oh my gosh. Okay, that should be everything. So we can go ahead and turn our wires back on if AutoCAD wants to cooperate. Okay, we have our stuff back. Now, oh gosh, what's next? Leaders. Alright. So we have to mark, we essentially have to give all of these beams a number. And this is so that we can drag them from over here to over here and then mark them. So like in this one we have this beam that's marked 1A. And over here we have 1A, and this is the same beam except it has all the measurements on it. So let's just get to it. One thing to note is that some of these are going to be mitered in some spots. So like this one has this mitered angle on it. This piece has mitered angle here and here. This piece has got miters on it. You want to annotate the non-mitered pieces first. So actually we're going to annotate the ground first because this is actually something important to go over. We're going to go back to this beam where that we're at. So the thing with the ground wear is that we have to split it up when we're annotating. This is because it just isn't, it hasn't been split yet. And it's a 20 feet piece of wood, usually. Sometimes it might be shorter than that. At most, it's going to be 20 feet. And we just have to split it up, make sure that no section is going to be longer than 8 feet, because the 2x2s that we're dealing with are 8 feet long. We're actually going to be buying some wood that's a bit longer than that, but those are for like special occasions. We want to be using the wood that we already have. So I'm going to use construction line, which is X line as a command, and then I'm going to hit V for vertical, and that's going to give me just an infinite vertical line. This is really useful for like marking things out, in my opinion. Then I'm going to use a command called measure geom, or measure geo. Hit D for distance, and then you just click on 2 points, and it'll tell you what the distance is. So that's only 5 feet, so we're good on that one. This distance is about 6 feet and an inch, and then this distance is 5 feet. So we're good on that. Oh, I actually want to keep those in. Now we're going to use the trim command, select these 2 bits, and then we can just cut off the top, cut off the bottom, we're done. Then we want leaders. So the leader command, leader, this is essentially our arrows. To create an arrow, we just click on the point that we want the arrow to point to, click on another spot, then hit A for annotation, and then you give it the name you want. So I'm going to say 1A, and you hit enter twice. You have to like use a new command for every time you want to put a new line in the annotation, and we only want 1 line. So you just hit enter once to put in the text, and hit enter again to tell it that you're done. Then I'm going to put a new one in, so click, make a new spot, and I type in, okay, A, 1B, enter, enter, done. Alright, and we're just going to kind of continue doing that. I just want to find all the unmitered pieces first. I'm going to say, let's see, that's a 90-degree angle. That's flat on top, so this will be piece number 2. That is mitered. Those are all mitered. This one is not mitered. So this is going to come up here, A3. Alright, so those are all of our mitered, or unmitered pieces of wood. Then all of these are mitered. I'm just going to number it left to right. So we've already got 3, so this will be 4. Five, 6. I lost count already. I named that one 6. That was also 6. Double check your work. 7. 8. 9. 10. And this should be 11, which I think is the final one. And I just called it 1 for some reason. We can just double click on this and change the number. When you're doing an annotation, it's actually going to bring up a different text editor, and when you hit enter, it's going to create a new line, which we don't want. So when you're done editing the text, you come up here and hit close text editor. Weird thing that AutoCAD does. I'm sure there's a good reason for it, but it's not really good for us. Now we're going to use, we're not going to do that. We're going to use match properties again. And this is why we want to keep the file up here. So first we're going to grab an angle, and we're just going to do match properties on all of our angle dimensions. And you notice that it's going to be really ugly. Angles are like, the numbers are not where we actually want them to be. And this is totally fixable, and you're pretty much never going to actually get this right on the first try. So don't worry about it. I think I also left a polyline in here. Yeah, I did. Okay. Then we're also going to do match P on the annotations. We have to do the arrows and the lettering separately, which is kind of unfortunate. So we're going to do match property on the arrow, and just do that on all the arrows that we have for the annotations. I think I missed one. Whoa, is it not? Why can't I grab it? I guess I got it, it just doesn't have an arrow on it? Okay, well we're just gonna make that later again. That was number 2, I believe. Sure. Well, A2. Okay. Match P. I can't spell. It really just doesn't want to put an arrow on this. I don't know why. So I'm just going to copy another one that's working. That's really strange. And then we need to change this to 2. Alright, then we're going to do match P, and we're going to grab a letter, and we actually have to do the letters separately. It's really strange. So ones that are on the left of the letter have to match up with ones that are on the left. So like, if the arrow is going to the right and we try and do that, then the letter isn't going to be in the right spot. And I'm pretty sure that happens the other way too. I haven't actually checked, but I'm fairly confident that it would be broken. You can try it yourself. I think that's all of them. So then we're going to do the same, except for the letters that are facing the other way. Oh. Grab that one. Oh, that's another one that doesn't have an arrow, or it's smaller. It's just a really small arrow. I don't know what's up with that. I think that's everything. Oh, I missed one. Oh well. HP. What? Okay, I messed up badly. So we're just gonna try again. I think I don't know what I did. I'm pretty tired right now. I think that's all of them except the one on the far right, and that was number 3. So I'm just gonna copy paste this over and change the number. Okay, we got all of our leaders in. Now we want to grab and adjust our stuff so that it reads well. And essentially you just click on the thing, and then there's going to be like a blue node that sits on top of the text, and that allows you to just move the text around. You want to try and make sure that doesn't overlap anything. I'm not sure if I'm actually going to get that, unfortunately. Oh, that kind of works. Sometimes you have to move the arrow or the letter sort of outside of where you expect it to be, but it's not a huge deal. Ooh, this is a weird one. I guess that works. Oh yeah, and if you accidentally double click it, then it automatically goes into text mode, and text mode takes a while to load, so try not to do that. I think I'm just gonna redo this one, except have it go on the bottom. I don't know if you can hear that in the background, but apparently I am the Jesus guy. Also, if you have OSNAPs turned on and you like try and move an annotation to somewhere that's pretty close to where the annotation already is, AutoCAD will try to be helpful and snap it right back exactly where it was, which isn't helpful at all, unfortunately. So if you're running into that issue, like if I want to move it here, but it keeps on stacking it back to the same position, I just move it out somewhere way out of the way and then move it back, and then it'll go where you want it.
No, Kevin is only shared to.
I don't even know what this thing is supposed to be showing. Oh gosh. Sure. That kind of works. The rest of those angles look fine. Alright, I'm going to take a break, cut the video, and edit it together later because my throat is like really scratchy. So see you after the cut. Alright, now for the second portion. We're going to be taking our beams, moving them over, and dimensioning them. First step is actually not that. What we're going to do is we're going to turn off most of our layers. We're going to turn off everything but the beams that we're building. We're going to grab all of this. We'll make sure we grab absolutely all of it, and hopefully I grabbed everything. I think I did. We are going to convert that over to the 3-layer, and this is just for line weight purposes. When we plot it as a PDF, it'll get the right line weights this way. Then we want to turn that off. Maybe we'll turn on the 0-layer, and these are all of our nails. So we're going to grab all of that and move it over to the 1-layer, and it's going to say that it's been moved to a frozen or turned off layer, and that's fine. That's exactly what we wanted to do. We also need to move these Actually, no, we're going to keep those there where they are because that's going to make our next job a little bit easier. Alright, so we're going to turn everything back on. And now we're going to start moving beams over. Actually, first, we're going to clear our landing area. So delete all of that. Okay. Now what we're going to do is first we're going to unlock our one layer because we have to copy over where the screws are. And then we just start grabbing everything that's part of this beam. So we're going to be moving all of 1A, 1B, and 1C over. And then I'm going to split those apart once I've got it over in sort of our dimensioning area. And if you like grab a line that's on a locked layer, you don't need to worry about that. When you copy this over, nothing bad will happen. Oh, we also have all of these screws that got left over, so we need to delete these. Okay. So now we've got this sort of isolated. Now we need to split this up. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to copy it 3 times. And on each one, I'm just going to delete what I don't need. So first one, we'll use trim, grab that, delete that. That one's done, so that'll be 1C. This one, I need to grab both of these, trim the outside, delete. That'll be 1B. And this one, whoop, that's not the command I want. Grab that, trim, grab that, delete. Now this is 1A. So I'll grab this, move it up, and move it up. AutoCAD is being very slow right now. Hopefully you can tell what's going on. Okay. Now that we've got this and all the layers are correct, we need to start dimensioning. First, I'm actually going to put a label on it. So the way that I've been doing this is I just grab the label and then copy it from the middle of that beam to the middle of this beam. And then this also kind of helps us position. Oh my gosh. So sometimes AutoCAD goes so slow that you type too fast for it, and so you can hit MOVE enter and it'll interpret your command as MO. So Autodesk, if you're watching this, get it together. Something strange is happening in Studio right now. I don't know what to make of it. Anyways, we are going to move to the second layer and start dimensioning. So to do, we have 2 measures, we have 2 dimensions to worry about. We have linear and we have angle. We've already gone over how to do angle, so we're going to do dim lin or dim linear. This is how we dimension lines. So we go from the center of this circle, this edge, and you just click there and you're done. And you have to do this for all of our screws. Generally, you want to locate the circle or the screw position back to the side that it's closer to, because that means it's going to be easier to dimension for the people who are actually building this. Shorter distance means less inaccuracies, and also it's just easier to measure. So now we have those in place, and they're all small. So we need to do match properties, our old friend. Grab a dimension from up there. Match properties, and everything's really big, and we didn't anticipate it, so all the text is overlapping, and that's okay. We're just going to do like we did before, where we grab that and we just move it out of the way. And you can like fiddle around with these and get them sort of exactly how you want them. One trick you can do is, oh, I'm gonna do this again. This junk. One trick you can do is like, if you have something stacked like this, you can. Oh my gosh. To get the dimensions a little bit closer to one another, you can put like one on the left and one on the right, and that lets you like share a little bit of vertical space, and it's still like perfectly readable. And that becomes important when you have like 8 beams in one list. It just becomes a lot easier to get all of those beams in on the same page when you're saving space like that. And that should be good enough for that beam. So you don't really need to watch me do the rest of these beams. I'm going to do them on my own time so I can like actually finish up the rest of the section, so we have a document for it. But I'm not going to go over in this video because you already know how to do it. So now we're going to do a couple of mitered pieces. Let's see, 4 is probably a good example. So we'll grab 4. It's also at the top of the list, so that's just convenient for me. So we grab all the stuff we want. That's all the stuff we want. Oh, it's actually got like a little snub on the end of it. That's really bizarre. Sure. Why not? Alright. So when we have a diagonal beam like this, we have to orient it correctly. The process to do that is to first use the rotate command, obviously. And then we specify where we want to start rotating. I actually forgot to copy over line. That's fine. I can just drop back in. So we start where we want to rotate it. The issue is that AutoCAD automatically assumes that you want to rotate it relative to the 0 angle, which is directly to the right. It's directly east. And we don't actually want to do that. So the way that you correct that is you hit R with the after you've done that, you hit R and enter, and that gets you to the reference angle mode. So what you do is you essentially draw the line, and then it like rotates it sort of how you expect. It basically acts like rhinos rotate, if you're familiar with Rhino. And now I've rotated it correctly. And I'm going to fix this up. And we're golden. Okay. Again, I typed too quickly. Gotta move that over. Oh my god. I brought up the... For some reason, MO is a shortcut to bring up the properties window. I don't really understand why. Especially because I think M... Yeah, just the letter M is short for move, but MO is short for properties. I don't understand. Anyways, dimensioning. Dimwin. This isn't actually a good example of what I wanted to show exactly, but whatever. So in the case that we have a flat, if we have a mitered angle like this, but then we also have a flat bit that's the end of the beam, then we need to show this dimension. And this lets people know essentially where to start that cut, and that will that'll just make it work. And then we just continue as normal, dimensioning from the side to the screws. Then match properties, grab something, mark your stuff. You can actually grab multiple at the same time, but you want to be careful about that because you might like accidentally match properties on a line, which isn't going to work. I honestly don't know what will actually happen if you try to do that, but you probably want to avoid it. Oh, I forgot one. Why can't I grab that? There we go. Okay. Again, I grab the text. One thing that you want to do is, if you have two dimensions that like directly relate to each other, for example, these two directly talk about these two screws that are right next to each other, you want to locate those dimensions near each other. If you put them far away from each other, then it doesn't really imply that they're supposed to go together. So like, if I kept this one in the middle, that just doesn't read very well, and it's confusing to read. Also, if there are multiple dimensions that share a line, then generally you want to make them on like that side of it. So like these two share this middle line here. So I'm putting them both on the right side of that, because the lines that are different are going to go on the opposite side. I didn't actually do this over here, and that's because if I put all four of these dimensions on this side, then I would have to like take this entire block and move it down. And so I'm putting these over on the right, both to show that they deal with the stuff that's over here on the right, but also to help save space. So that beam is fully dimensioned, I think. Oh, we got to make sure we give it the right name. This was 4, I think. Yeah, it was. Okay, and then I want to find one like this one. Yeah, this isn't our example I want to show. This doesn't actually have any screws in it, which is interesting. There actually will be a screw in it connecting it this way, but we're not marking those. Alright. We do our rotate trick again. So you need a reference angle. Do that, and now it's flat. Oh my gosh, I brought up the properties again. Gotta type real slow so that AutoCAD can understand you. Okay, I'm putting this a little lower because this is actually beam 9, and so it's going to come a little bit later in the series. Give it a label just so I don't forget that. Okay. So, oh, I actually forgot to put the angle on here. So, dimming, this is an arc for some reason, even though it's definitely flat. So I gotta draw a line in, and now I can do that, get that in, delete that. Oh, that looks bad. Okay, I'm actually gonna draw this line the opposite way. Hopefully you won't actually have to do this, but it's probably going to happen at some point. So the reason I did that is when I had the line that was sticking out, like the little line on the dimension was coming out and then just stopping in the middle of nothing, which you don't want, because then it's kind of ambiguous what it's actually referring to, and we don't want any ambiguity in our construction documents because that leads to things not being built correctly. So if you can, you want to put this in the middle, but you actually have to like get it a certain distance out before it'll let you, and then it ends up going through that number. So in that case, I'm just putting the number slightly outside, and it gets the point across. Alright, then dimming. We can't use that one because it's an arc or something. So we got to make a line. And then, is that one also a line? Oh my gosh. Okay. So now that we've redrawn everything, we can put this angle in. And then it's going to end up in the wrong spot anyways, so we have to draw it again. So sometimes it actually can end up in the wrong spot and you can't fix it, because essentially when you have an angle like this, there's the obtuse angle and there's the acute angle, and we actually want the acute angle because that's the angle that's going to be cut with the wood. And if you accidentally put it in the obtuse angle position, I don't think you can fix that just by moving the angle around. So like if I try to grab this and move it over here, it doesn't really realize that that's what I want to do, so it doesn't figure it out. Then I'm going to mark the length of the wood, and that's actually all we need for this piece, and I'm going to explain why. So in our previous example, actually I'm just going to put this in the middle because that works. In the previous example, we had to mark the distance from this point to this point, because when you're cutting the angle, you would actually start at this point and then go at that angle to cut the wood. But if we don't have a flat portion on the end of the beam here, and it's just a sharp point, we don't have to include this linear dimension. And essentially that's because you're starting at this point and going that way, and this point is already fixed in space because of the dimension of the entire board. So we don't have to include as many dimensions in that situation, but only that situation. Essentially, you just have to make sure, like, you just have to think about, like, what point would you start at when you cut that angle, and then, like, making sure that that point can be accurately measured from some other point on the board that can be accurately measured. So that's an entire board. And I think that is actually everything you need to know on annotating. When you are done, actually I should have done this a long time ago. I forgot to save, and I've had this file for a while. When you save, you should actually do a save as, like, as soon as you start the file, just save as like whatever slice you're working on. So I'm just going to call this L8.dwg. And when you are done with your DWG, just email it to Adelie. I'm not going to put her email address up on this video because people not in our class might find the video. So just for, like, safety, I'm not going to put it up. But if you need to know it, you can figure that out. You're smart enough. You can do it. I believe in you. So that should be everything. If I've missed anything, I'll probably put up another video, but hopefully that will not be necessary. Hey, guess what? I forgot something. So one last thing is we actually need to turn a whole bunch of stuff off. I'm going to turn a whole bunch of stuff off, just very slowly, because AutoCAD. We have these back beams. I forgot to change the layer of these, so we're going to unlock them. Grab everything and throw it onto the O3 layer. This is actually the same layer as all of our other beams, and this is just sort of the standard we're using. This is also why you have to hatch stuff. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that that was clear because I forgot to do that on the first two cuts of this video. All right, so I think that is actually everything that you need to know on how to annotate. So good luck. Okay, I forgot yet another thing. and I already closed AutoCAD and I can't be bothered opening it again because like it's past midnight. Anyways, in the situation that you have a beam that is mostly vertical, like it doesn't have to be exactly vertical, but if it's at slightly off angle from vertical, you need to mark which end of that beam is the up end of it. And this is just going to help the assembly team put stuff together, so they don't really have to figure out which end is which. There's no really standard method on how to do this. What I've been doing is I've been copying over text and just writing the word up and putting it on that end of the beam. Just make sure it doesn't like get in the way of any of the existing annotations. And also, if it helps you, you can actually make that text smaller. If you can't figure out how to do that, don't worry about it. You can just put the word up like outside of the beam on the general side. That is the up end of the beam. You can figure it out. And if you can't figure it out, then just like talk to a human being. If the video ends here, then there is nothing else that I have to tell you.